Welcome back. Alain Torres is in the house. We're going to talk all about awakening and spiritual journey because he has guided many, many big entrepreneurs and all types of people. How are you?
I'm amazing. How are you?
Fantastic.
You feel amazing to me. You feel amazing.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
So take us through your spiritual journey. We read about how you kind of went through actually the jungle in a bunch of places. So tell us, take us through that spiritual journey.
My gosh, you know, for me it started with questioning who am I? You know, who am I really? And then from there it was like, okay, trying to piece together, you know, what made me me? And I started asking these deeper questions. And I started realizing how brainwashed we were in society, or how we are in society. And so I said, my God, there's got to be something deeper. So I started going and I started peeling all these layers off through a social construct and really within myself to get to the core of who I really am. And so I started studying with natives, with shamans, and people around the world who frankly, they're outside of the mainstream narrative, which is where I wanted to go. Because I said, I don't think these other people got it figured out. I really want to get to the bottom of what is really going on here inside of me, the truth of me, which was the topic of today. And so as I started going inward, it just, right when I thought I learned the truth, then there was another truth, and another, and another, and another, and another, and going deeper and deeper into. And the greatest truth was this guy, which I would love to talk about. You know, over 10,000 hours of meditation, you know, thousands of ayahuasca ceremonies. It's been a heck of a ride.
Wow.
And there hasn't been a single layer within myself that I haven't peeled off and really self-examined and got to the core of who it is I really am and who I'm meant to be on this planet.
So Alain, have you peeled all the layers, or are you still peeling?
You know, so it's an interesting thing. So all the old stuff, it's all gone. But now moving forward, as I create the reality, the life that I desire, you know, there's new stuff. It's a constant up-leveling. It's an up-leveling effect of the mindset that got me here today will not get me to where I'm going tomorrow. And then I have to let go of that mindset every step of the way backwards.
And I think it's an interesting point because I think there's a kind of a myth that thinks that if you reach that state, you're going to attain that state, which is possible, I guess, but we are one in collective consciousness. So we're constantly doing the work and we're still humans because we're attached in that consciousness. And that's, for me, I'm so sorry I have to like interject here, because that's the driving force of doing this work. And people go, why do you want to change people? It's not about that. It's like changing your own consciousness. Like we can't fully embody that, right? I mean, how do you experience that for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, you must be the change you want to see in the world. I mean, that's so eloquently said around the world. We all know that one. For me, yeah, you can completely remove yourself from mainstream narrative, but at the end of the day, you know, that's a path that you can choose to go, you know, meditate and levitate in a cave if you wanted to. But, you know, for me, my choice was how do I integrate into society? How do I bring myself back in here with all the wisdom, all the understandings, and then be able to make sense of it? So yeah, I had to take back on certain personas, certain identities to then bring people out of it.
So was there an actual moment when, because I believe in this dance, you have a time, you're like, I got to go the total ethereal and like go, or I'm going to come back and do the work here. What was that moment for you?
Yeah, I mean, so for me, a lot of it was through a past relationship where it was that reflection, that mirror. You know, you just have your stuff, the most incredible reflection of you and the most not so incredible reflection coming back at you, and you're forced to see yourself and do the work to work through whatever's coming up to become a better person.
Yeah, some call that a twin flame, right?
Yeah, definitely had that dynamic.
Where do you feel like it's all heading for you?
You know, there's a global movement I'm creating. You know, and so the mission is to guide and lead 1 million+ people strong to enlighten the planet. You know, change and recreate humanity. And so for me, that's everything. You know, life is so simple from that point on. Now I'm just assembling the universal heroes, those who are aligned with the mission, to be able to help them leverage their gifts, and we all help enlighten the planet together, because the world needs it. It's ready. You know, everyone is waking up. People are doing incredible things now, and they're stepping into themselves in ways they've never stepped into before. So it's really fun to watch, and I'm really excited that I get to
But do you really feel,
that.
because I really feel like we're always going to have a relative, I mean, for many lifetimes anyway, like the light's not going to take over and the dark's going to go away. Like as much as light is going up, there's as much dark, and it's like we're in this relative form. Do you really feel like we're going to lighten the planet and it's going to be like done?
I've experienced it. In fact, the shift in consciousness takes place when you go from here to here. And so when you're living here, by nature, there's a polarity. There is the yin and yang. They attract each other, but they repel each other. They're doing this thing here. But when you shift your consciousness from here to here, this is oneness, this is unity. And so you just see all that is just as it is.
Totally.
You know, so for example, when the universe has a sun that explodes, it's not going, oh my God, the sun, is something exploded. It's not freaking out. It just goes, okay, cool. It's what it is. And so for me, like when things come up in life or in business, you know, or those that I'm serving and helping, you know, I don't get too much of this. I don't create any unnecessary drama because that, for most people, is just what they need in order to feel alive. For me, I know I'm alive. And for me, being alive more than anything is being here, but then choosing to create the dynamics, the play, the fun, the excitement. And that's where I get to bring back in the humanness, the humanity back into the narrative of my
So
life.
you said you did about
I like it.
1,000 ayahuasca.
Yeah, that one.
And I think that, and I think it's a choice. I think that there's a choice.
Of course.
I believe in doing a pure way of awakening because it's like a slowly taking off the veil. I've seen where people have tried things and it can really slam them out of their reality, and they come back to their home and they're just like, why am I doing any of this? And kind of mess people up. It can be dangerous.
Oh, for sure.
What was that experience like for you, and how can people do it safely? Because I would never suggest
number
it.
one, always do it with someone who, don't do it by yourself. Don't go online and get the kit or anything that people are doing. I've even seen people talk about it. It's
I
on
do
Facebook.
not recommend doing any of
What's the
this.
store, Facebook? Everyone sells things on Facebook. What's that little thing called?
I have no
It's
idea.
like the Craigslist of Facebook. What's it
Yeah,
called?
it's just
Yeah,
like the
Facebook
Facebook's like
store. I don't know.
shop or
Whatever,
something,
so you guys know what
market.
it is.
Yeah.
So it's the
Don't buy
marketplace.
anything on there
Market.
that's the
Marketplace, that's what it
ayahuasca,
is. You can
please.
see, right?
No.
So yeah, I've seen it there, and the things I see, it's unheard of. You need someone to be able to guide you because you can really lose yourself. And so yeah, when I've done it, I've definitely, for a week after, I'm like, oh my God, I'm kaput. I just need to sit down, veg, and really just come back to myself because I had so many big emotional, mental shifts inside of myself that I need to reset. I need to recalibrate, rebalance into this new level of myself. And the biggest thing I'd say is always, like I said, and I really want to stress this, do something like that. And it's not just ayahuasca. I mean, even using cannabis responsibly. Use it in a very ceremonial setting, and which is one of the things that I do for people is you use it in a very intentional way where you guide people, where I'm guiding people in and they're able to do that work rather than being mindless and numb to, okay, let's just get high. It's a completely different energy. It's all about intention.
But it seems like, and I try not to have judgment because I'm like, everyone has their own path. But it seems like my friends that need to take a medicine to get in that state always need to take a medicine to get in that
That's
state.
part of their journey. You know, for those who are really, really questioning themselves, they'll get to a point, hopefully, where they realize they actually don't need it. And so for me, it's a tool. It's something to be able to show me a part of myself that I couldn't necessarily get there as quick, or maybe that part of the journey I felt like that was the one thing that was gonna help me or push me over the edge to make that next shift or that next, healing to get to that next area in my life.
It's all bridge, isn't it?
All bridges.
I'm always fascinated by Ram Dass's story, because Ram Dass became this incredible spiritual teacher, and part of the bridge for him was, precisely sort of what you're describing there, only in that case it was LSD. And, I remember him telling a story about going over to India, and he gave enough of that substance to his spiritual teacher to kill him. And the spiritual teacher, the next morning said, it's great for beginners, and it put me in the room with Christ, but it just didn't let me stay there.
Right.
And he said, you want to stay there.
Right. Yeah, so I got to a place inside of myself where I stopped doing all medicine work for over 9 months.
Wow.
After meditating for 10,000 hours and peeling off those layers, I didn't need to do it anymore. And in fact, when I did do something like that, I didn't experience anything because I was already there. And so I'm like, oh man, this is really interesting. And the even more interesting thing that I experienced was when I got to a place inside of myself where my mind was completely quiet, peaceful, Zen. I mean, that's, after all, it's what we're all really after. With everything we're doing in life, it's to achieve some level of success, but success really is inner peace. And so when I got there, I literally thought I was dead because I'm like, oh my God, there's nothing going on up there. There's nothing going, there's literally no thoughts.
Yeah.
And so now, as a story with one of my clients, this guy can never keep track of him. He gets off his plane, he's in India, he calls me up, he says, yo, Alain, what's up? And I'm like, dude, talk to me. He's like, oh, I'm in India. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm hanging out with the monks. I'm like, super cool. What'd you learn today? He says, well, I asked the monk today, what is the biggest difference between him and me? And he says, the monk replied to me, the biggest difference between you and me is this. You use your mind, your mind uses you, me, I use my mind. And so the big difference with so many of people out there is they're not actually using their mind.
So
and
great.
so many people get sucked into the narratives of what's going on in their minds that becomes a reality, and then they get off track, they go off kilter, and it's a distraction, and they never actually get back on path that they're meant to. And so a lot of this, the topic for today of tuning into the truth is like peeling off all those layers, letting go. It's not actually adding. That's another big pet peeve I have, man. Oh my God. Everyone thinks, oh, I need to do more podcasts, more books, more this, more that. The reality is, no, you don't need anything more. You have everything here. You have to let go of all this stuff and get to the core, and then your path is literally laid out right in front of you. It's magic.
Love
I
that.
just love that. Ramana Maharishi is one of my maybe probably my favorite spiritual teacher, and he's famous for saying there is no self-realization because the self or God is already always realized, and it's only your thinking that it's not realized that is in the way.
Yep.
And basically thoughts take different forms of that same basic idea, which is in some way I'm not realized. I need to think more, do more, be more in order to realize.
Yeah.
It's all a pretense that it's not just a pretense.
Incredible.
Yes.
Yeah.
So brilliant. So how can people find you, work with you? And I just want to disclose also that we honor everyone's truth. We honor whatever path they're on for awakening. It really is an individual journey, and I honor each and every one of those.
Yeah.
So how can people work with you?
Yeah, come find me on Instagram. I love Instagram. I respond to so many DMs. It's amazing. Find me at the Alain Torres. It's ALAIN is Alain. So at the Alain, ALAIN Torres. You'll see it. It should be right below. Come hang out. We're building a tribe of superheroes, of universal heroes. Come hang out, be part of the community, be part of the conversation of the things that every day we're putting high-level mindset that doesn't just apply to spirituality. It applies to relationships, dating, health, business. So come check it out. You're going to love it.
Love it.
Thank
Such
you
a
so
love.
much, Alain.
Thank you
Stay
so
tuned. We'll be
much.
back with more. Good morning, LaLa.